the tabernacle to go with it,
And
or
then,
the propaganda.
Well, and let's pretend, right, that you get out the energy field, and you have out your energy field, and your opponent casts Pyroblast.
Yeah.
Your energy field is going to be gone no matter what.
Yeah.
Not unless you've got a ley line out, so...
Yeah, there's a lot of things. The Rug deck just seems a little bit better positioned in the matchup. So we have another matchup coming up. Look at this. So Chris Kronenberger, who's Kronenberger Blue deck we were just talking about, is going to be playing the Rug deck this match.
Right. So when the deck has a person that's quote unquote named after, like that's the progenitor of that deck, and they abandon it, that's actually, I think, a very telling sign.
Yeah.
If you see Patrick Sullivan and he's not casting the red spells,
not casting lightning bolt,
that's a big deal. Let's pretend Edgar Flores shows up to a standard event and he doesn't play Clawblade. There's probably a really good reason. So if Chris Kronenberger is not playing Kronenberger Blue...
Well, it did top 8 in Cincinnati 2 weeks ago, so it might not be as far of the metagame, but No Rug has definitely put up the better results lately.
I do see that he has Lightning Bot in his deck.
Yes, Lightning Bots. 2 of them.
Yes.
Typically they run 4 of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the best robots you can have.
Yeah. He's playing against Timothy Babcock, who is playing the Blue-White Stoneforge Mystic control deck.
Right.
So we'll see whether the No Rug deck can best another big blue control deck, or whether the blue control deck will be able to strike back. And notably, one addition to the blue control deck, the blue-white deck that wasn't really around lately, it has Daze.
That's really interesting. Like Stoneforge Mystic with a Daze backup seems like it could be really powerful.
It fell out of favor, but Hivemind has kind of pushed it back to the forefront. Daze is now in. Force is now marginally in, marginally out, kind of somewhere.
Right.
And Mental Misstep is getting pushed to a point where maybe it's out soon. Who knows? Let's see. His sword of choice to go with the Batterskull is Feast and Famine.
I've been seeing more Body and Mind in Legacy.
That was the
anti-Jace technology.
Yeah, that was the California Cruise tech for the Grand Prix. Mm-hmm. It's a bit faster of a clock. Discarding a card as opposed to milling 10. Against some of the combo decks, milling 10 is pretty brutal. Especially like Storm, where you hit their tendrils and they might just lose. So Tim won game 1. We're going to game 2 over here.
We're going to see what happens. Chris Kronenberger on the play. No Rug.
Yep.
And his opponent, Timothy, here is going to be playing the blue-white Stoneforge Mystic deck here.
So Chris on the right, Tim on the left.
After sideboard, what does Timothy get here?
He can board Submerge, Wrath of God, Peacekeeper, and Crucible of Worlds to Wasteland lock. Maybe Path to Exile for some Voice and Vendilion clicks. And potentially Spell Pierce, depending on how much he feels like he needs more answers to Natural Order. He might board out Spell Snare, even though it hits Sylvan Library and Tarmogoyf, because it doesn't really hit the big threat of Natural Order or Vendilion click.
Let's pretend that you are Chris Kronenberger. Do you board out your Fire Ices or your Bolts?
Probably.
So
maybe. Oh, he has Stoneforge Mystic. No, you want to leave in a few of those.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah. Against the big blue deck, you definitely do, and like a Peacekeeper and like a Landstill style deck would be really crucial. But because you have Stoneforge Mystic, he's going to leave in these Bolts and Fire Ices just to sort of bolt your Mystic. Your Battleskull's not going to come into play for a few turns. We can still play a fair game. Chris is going to board in these Jaces alongside these Red Blasts, I think.
4 Red Elemental Blast.
And Ancient Grudge as well. Yeah, I can definitely see Force of Will coming out for Chris. Possibly for Tim as well. Spell Pierce might just be better than a few Forces. Though it only hits Natural Order. Hits Green Sun Zenith. So I'm not entirely sure on that one, but I can definitely see Force of Will just coming out on both sides. Looks like Chris is sending his hand back. Ooh, Thrun the Last Troll might come in.
It's a very solid target for Green Sun Zenith.
Yeah. Oh, and for those wondering, Timothy is on Standstill, not Ancestral Vision, so that might also come out. That's an interesting debate. I know Drew Levin is heavily on the side of Ancestral Visions. I talked to some people. I know Brian DeMar is on the side of Standstill. I'm on the side of Standstill. Every time I watch Standstill play, it's just kind of someone plays a spell, wins the game, and just like...
when Drew and Jerry...
Visions just sits there and doesn't do anything.
When Drew and Jerry played Standstill, I watched all of the last rounds, And I'm going to tell you, every standstill that they cast was literally either created a game loss or a win more.
A game loss or a win more?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, as in, every time, if they had not had the standstill, if they had some other card draw, even if it was really bad, like Think Twice, it would have advanced their game. But the standstill literally was just, I guess it's Force of Will bait if I can get one. That was like when I got off of the standstill train in that deck.
Really?
In play, Chris Kronenberger, turn 1 Noble Hierarch.
Yeah.
And Tim Babcock goes turn 1 Tundra. Chris Kronenberger, turn 2 Misty Rainforest, leaves it there, and Tim Babcock searches for a basic island.
Whenever I've seen Standstill, it's always just been, these matchups turn to attrition, and Standstill gives you the immediate card advantage to continue fighting through the mid game. Whereas
If you're playing against the right opponent.
Sure. It might just be my sample size is skewed.
I mean, it was literally 100% of the standstills in that top 8. If you go back and watch that coverage, just watch Drew Levin and Jerry Thompson's matchups, and it's really remarkable.
So
Tax
Chris
for 1.
goes for a brainstorm, but it gets misstepped. Noble Heart gets in for 1, and Chris passes. Tim plays a Factory. Looks like he's going to play... There's the Stoneforge Mystic playing around Daze here. Daze is another card I think both of them can board out easily.
Especially if they're planning on doing things like Red Elemental Blast.
And going late.
Yeah, because if you're not going for the fast kill, Daze very quickly becomes a card that doesn't do very much work.
Yeah. Especially if you also want to board out Force Will, so you can't even pitch it to that. So we might be seeing a more control, like trading cards, grinding a lot more of a, those of you familiar with Standard, a lot more of that kind of style as opposed to the Legacy Force of Will Daze free counter style matchup post board here. That's an end turn
Vendilion
Click. Might turn that Stoneforge Mystic Tutor into a cantrip instead. Building an Elvish Visionary out of a Demonic Tutor. Tim thinking about what he wants to do. Might have a brainstorm in response. Might have, Daze. Might have Force of Will. Yep, there's the Force. Exiling Standstill. So Chris gets to untap here. Only 2 cards in hand, though. Looks like lands. And Tim gets to a state where he gets to put Batterskull into play. Looks like there might be another Stoneforge Mystic he drew.
I couldn't see any of the cards in his hand other than it looked to me like perhaps a Wasteland might have been in his hand as well.
Let's see.
It's very likely just to be a go. There you go.
Just
End of the turn,
wait.
Chris draws.
Oh.
Up during the draw step.
Vendilion Click.
I got nothing. Just so you know, I've got nothing.
Tim's probably just gonna main phase or upkeep, put this Batterskull into play with 3 mana up, just so he plays around Chris drawing his own Vendilion Click to put into play in response to the Stoneforge activation. Yep. Oh, just getting another Stoneforge into play. Sword of Feast and Famine to follow. No second Batterskull in the sideboard for Tim. No other equipment in the sideboard for Tim.
Tim's hand is Batterskull, Sword of Feast and Famine, and is it 2 other cards?
Let's see.
Attack for 3 with the Vendilion Click.
Chris drops to 16. Chris draws.
Force of Will? What is that? Is he down to 1 card in hand?
Chris, yep. Batterskull comes on down, and the end game starts now. Sword of Feast and Famine can come down here and get the hit in, presumably. Tim draws another Stoneforge. Looks like he has the Stoneforge and the sword in hand as his only 2 cards.
Sacrifices a flooded strand. Feast and Famine.
Yep.
Equip the Feast or Famine to the Vendilion Click.
Leaving up the basic island, so it's... Oh, nope, just crashing in there with everybody.
Everybody comes in and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. And a germ that's untapped. There we go.
13, I think. Is there... Oh, the other Mystic's tapped. There
Yeah.
we go. That's what it is. So, that's 12. Chris discards the 7th land that he draws, and Tim untaps all of his lands.
Not sure what could possibly be drawn here. There we go.
And match goes to Tim. So, roles of reverse a little bit. No Rug manages to fall to the blue control deck this time. Looked like the power of a bad draw there, but Stoneforge Mystic definitely helped.
Right. I mean, if you think about the ways that the Stoneforge Mystic influenced that game, I mean, it did an additional +6 damage on that turn, but also it meant that Chris was under pressure for a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Even when the Batterspell's not in play.
Yeah.
It can come into play. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm here with Ari Lax. We're here in still very sunny Pittsburgh,